Back to another episode of Epic Gangsta Tales. Today we have an interesting video, an interesting topic rather. Today's episode is going to be about the man who shook down Anthony Casso's wife while he was in prison serving a life sentence. Today we're going to get into a little bit about the man, the myth, the legend, Frankie the Bug Sciortino, a former captain in the Columbo crime family, born on May 31st, 1933, in Brooklyn, New York. Now, on May 15th, 1996, mind you, Frankie the Bug was, right up there with Michael Franzese in the Columbo crime family, having his tentacles into the gas tax scam with the Russian mob and all that, okay? So, at the root of this story is all that money. That money from the gas tax scam, was serious money. All five families were involved. Today we're going to get into, the Columbo crime family. And essentially, as big and as bad as Anthony Casso was, it doesn't mean you're off limits. Once he turned rat, it's a different ballgame, essentially, you know what I mean? But anyway, on May 15th, 1996, Anthony Casso, who at this point has already, he's agreed to join Team USA. He's, a witness for the government. He's turned rat, Casso. Now, he goes and testifies in front of Senate, to give information on various schemes and scams that the Mafia was into, as well as the Russian mob and their alliance with the Italians. Specifically, he breaks down the gas tax scam. And he explained essentially how the Mafia and the Russian mob worked together to make millions of dollars with the gas tax scam, and most importantly, at least in today's episode, is that Casso gave testimony on the murder of one Michael Markowitz, who worked with the Columbo crime family and was directly involved with the gas tax scam. Casso had the following to say. I talked with Columbo boss Vic Arena and soldier Frankie the Bug Sciortino, and they explained how they were gonna whack out Markowitz because he was a liability. And then Casso says, so I knew it was gonna happen when it happened. Essentially, it was kind of like a situation where, Casso and Bellagula, I did the Gemini Twins episode where we talked about there where Joey Testa had to, a problem arose from their, it seemed like each family almost had a Russian conduit into the gas tax scam, if you get what I'm saying, since it kind of originated with the Russians. So, Markowitz was just that guy. He was like the Bellagula for the Columbos, for Frankie the Bug. And he became a problem, so they whacked him out. And Casso gave testimony on that and all types of stuff, you know what I mean? Which would come back to haunt him later on down the line. And like I said, a few years later, after giving testimony, Gaspipe's bullshit came full circle. And after his plea deal was ripped up and he was hauled off to the ADX Supermax in Florence, Colorado, Gaspipe, the one-time, underboss of the Lucchese crime family, people used to shake in their boots when this guy would, so much as walk by you, look at you, people would shake. He put fear in people's heart for a long time, before he turned rat. Easily one of the most feared mobsters in New York during his time, you know what I mean? But, he turned rat and still died in a prison cell. Now, while he was away, his wife and his family were vulnerable. You know what I mean? I'm sure he never even put that into calculations, but he broke the cardinal rule. When they went after Pete Chiodo's, sister and then the, brother-in-law, they were putting a lot of people in trunks, whether they had anything to do with the Mafia or not. So, I mean, is it really that, is it that big of a surprise that someone you put information out there, you tried to put away from murder, comes back and all of a sudden your family and all that, and you're away, you can't help them, you can't protect them, you can't do nothing, you know what I mean? They're vulnerable, all those millions of dollars that Gaspipe made, during, throughout his criminal career. In the years, in the eyes of the mob, all that was null and void. You know what I mean? The moment he ratted, that money became theirs in their eyes, and so the Columbo maniac, Frankie the Bug Sciortino, who Gaspipe, like we spoke about earlier, gave testimony on due to his involvement in the gas tax scam. Frankie the Bug saw his chance to hit it big, and he started showing up at Casso's residence, threatening Casso's wife and children in exchange for Casso's money, and what was his wife gonna do, honestly? Seriously, all that was, she wasn't supposed to have that money, you know what I mean? Like, there was nothing she could have done. Horrified, I'm sure, damn well, prior to becoming a rat and getting hauled off to prison and stuff like that, not only was Casso a feared killer in the streets, but was a serious earner as well, and brought in hundreds of thousands of dollars, through various schemes, including drugs. Even back in the day, him, and his old buddy Vic Musso, even as, I believe maybe early on, even as captains, they were still involved in moving serious drugs. You know what I mean? All that money, you know what I mean? And then they rank up. Vic Musso becomes the boss. Gaspipe becomes the underboss. They had a little 5-year run, which isn't long, but isn't, it's something, you know what I mean? And all that money each year, the Christmases, the, weekly, the money rolls up, right? Shit rolls downhill, money goes up. So 5 years as the underboss too, you know what I mean? He had a lot of money put away, trust me. He used to run bank robbing crews and stuff like that. You know what I mean? Like, he had money, you know what I mean? He left his wife in good standing, you know what I mean? When he went away for life, he easily gave her and his kids a couple $100,000 at a minimum. It might have been more, might have been less, who knows? I'm not his accountant, you know what I mean? But he left her well off. But Frankie the Bug, with the backing of the Columbo crime family, relentlessly pressed Casso's wife, and ultimately he took it all under threat of violence, and it was untaxed, unclaimed, illegally gained money. So what was she gonna do? You can't go to the FBI's and be like, well, why didn't you tell us you had all, you know what I mean? Who wants all those problems, especially after her husband gets hauled off and stuff like that? She was just in a bad spot. Husband's in prison for life, you know what I mean? Ratted on everybody. So, all those old associates and friends and all that, you're excommunicated, you're blacklisted essentially. You know what I mean? The federal government's not helping you, your friend's not helping you. It just must have been a terrible situation that he left his family in. I remember when I was reading this part in a book about all this, about the Lucchese crime family, it was very sad to read that, the repercussions, of nothing she did or the family did, you know what I mean? But, so after being robbed blind and extorted by her husband's ex-mafia pals, Casso's wife, with all this stress, literally was getting extorted, all that money gone, taken, we'll kill your kids, we'll do this, we'll do that, getting the money, and she did, she gave him the money, she had no choice, and after being extorted and essentially being dead broke, she fell ill, physically and mentally. And ultimately would die of a mixture of a massive stroke and a heart attack that occurred simultaneously. You know, so all that bullshit Casso brought on his own family, and specifically his wife, killed her, you know? He turned rat, got his cooperation agreement ripped up, you know? She got left for the wolves, you know? And like they say, there's always someone bigger, meaner, and badder out there, you know what I mean? It's just the way it is, and that's exactly what happened. You know, Casso probably thought, who's bigger and better, but yet people looked at you as weak because you turned rat, you know what I mean? So all that juice is gone, you know, and you're just another guy sitting on, you know, vulnerable, you know what I mean? Frankie the Bug Sciortino strong-armed Casso's wife for just shy of $400,000, you know? Once he ratted, you know, people stopped being scared, essentially, of Casso. Not that I think Frankie the Bug was ever scared of him. I think they were like equal playing field in the psychotic department because he was a nutball too, but he didn't rat like Casso, you know what I mean? But anyways, you know, he testified on Frankie the Bug, and Frankie the Bug didn't get convicted. Instead, he turned his wrath towards the only thing he could. Casso was in prison, he couldn't touch him, so he channeled it to his wife and his family. You know, your actions have consequences, and there are no happy endings in these stories, as you well know, right? We do, you know, weekly here, we tell the stories weekly. There are no happy endings, you know, and just more of the same. Prison, death, or a cooperator are the end results. You know, but anyways, this has been another episode of Epic Gangsta Tales. Please like, comment, share, and most importantly, guys, subscribe. The channel is going, you know, day by day, week by week, you know. We've been at it a couple months now. Everything's going up, you know. I just want to thank you guys for rocking with me. We're going to keep bringing these stories at least once a week, maybe more. But yeah, like I said, if you're not subscribed, guys, go ahead and subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you this weekend. Take care.